I'm going to be using standard 2x4s from Home Depot to construct a floating staircase. That's because a staircase like this can cost upwards of $20,000. And my biggest expense is the framing lumber I'll be using, which still cost me less than $1,000. And basically the whole project will be held together using wood glue alone. So the first step was to glue a bunch of 2x4s together, which would create the stair treads. In total, I glued up 12 of these sections, and now we need to smooth them out using a planer. I was really impressed with this machine. I really put it through quite a lot with this staircase, and it continues to run like a champ. In fact, I only used one set of blades for this whole project. Now that we have the rough shape, it's time to cut them down to final dimensions. For some of the treads, I glued two sections together to create one larger one, which were then cut diagonally in half to create two separate pieces. This would achieve a sort of spiral effect on the staircase, which would save on the amount of room this whole setup would take up. This would be going in my garage so I could have access to my loft I made earlier. And this part of my garage space was very limited. Since I'm using framing lumber for this project instead of some very expensive hardwood, typically I would see moisture levels above 10%, but at the time of construction, this wood was just under 7. So although I expect some warping and cracking of the wood in the future, I do think it will be minimal. After getting all the stair treads sanded and clean, I move on to the finish. I use the color Natural from Rubio Monocoat, which keeps the look of the wood as natural as possible, while also masking some of the less desirable pink and orange hues commonly found in this soft lumber. Now that we have the stair treads finished, I move on to the more complex part of this project, the single stringer, which would carry the weight of all the treads. Typically steel is used, but since metal is not my forte, I will be using 4 2x6s sandwiched together using wood glue, which would most likely be as strong or stronger than the steel. All jokes aside, after letting the massive stringer dry overnight, I put it through the planer to get a nice smooth surface, which I learned was much easier said than done. Running a 16-foot beam through the planer was difficult due to the size and of course the weight. The finished stringer would be made out of a few different pieces, which would also be attached using wood glue, and to be honest, I'm not worried about the glue failing. The wood would fail much sooner than the glue itself, and the 4 2x6s can handle a live load of 283 pounds per square foot after accounting for the dead weight of the stairs themselves, and the requirement is only 40, so if anything, this is over-engineered. And due to time constraints, please check out part 2, which is out now.